And we're live. Welcome to TechPad, episode 3 of season 2. I'm Jackson Staats, and this is my co-host Blaze Smith. We'd like to thank you for joining us on this fine Tuesday afternoon. And we have something special for you tonight. We're going to be discussing all things iPad related. And we're going to have a pretty interesting discussion on some iPad stuff. But that's for later.
Yeah.
So, Blaze, we're gonna start off as per usual, reading an article, and we actually have a viewer question, cool. So we'll get to that after the article as well.
All right. So getting into the article. So this one's from iDrop News, and it's written by Jesse Hollington, I believe, and it's titled, "Unfortunately, older iPhones will miss out on all these iOS 15 features," which is the newest. Is it newest iOS?
Yeah, it's the iOS coming out here shortly.
Okay. All right. Just go over this one real quick. All right. You can install this year's iOS 15 release on many more iPhone models than ever before, but it's important to know that you're not going to get all of iOS 15's goodness if you're still toting an iPhone from before 2018, which I feel like that's pretty recent, but...
It's pretty recent to be... You said 2018 is the iPhones that are getting dropped? I feel like that's pretty recent. Like that's a pretty recent tier of iPhone to be getting dropped, but hey, that's a pretty, I mean, can't complain about years of updates. In fact, they're still probably giving updates. They're just, you can't upgrade to the newest iOS.
Probably.
So they haven't dropped it per se, but you can't get the newest iOS. Oh, keep reading. I didn't interrupt.
You're good. To be clear, there's still a lot of cool stuff in the iOS 15 everyone can enjoy. But Apple's older A-series CPUs can't handle some of the more high-tech features that Apple's bringing this year in iOS 15. That's not planned. I don't know how... Sorry. My reading's not...
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
We're all taking AP Lit, so
it's not planned on Apple's part. It's simply the laws of physics and technology at work. After all, Apple is under no obligation to support iPhones from 6 years ago, especially considering that Android users are lucky to get 2 years of updates. At the same time, however, it's not reasonable to expect Apple to hold back features that take full advantage of its modern A-series Bionic chips so that it can treat all of its older devices equally. An iPhone 13 Pro Max is in no way equal to an iPhone 6's.
Yeah.
Which, it's not even comparable. So, it's laudable that Apple is continuing to bring iOS 15 to older iPhone models, but some features simply need to be reserved for those with more recent devices.
Yeah.
And even that bar is being set really reasonably low, with the obvious exception of a couple of 5G specific features. Everything in iOS 15 is available on the 2018 iPhone XS/XR and later. Which I guess the XR is pretty old.
Yeah, the XR isn't. I mean, I wouldn't call it old, but in Apple's ecosystem, it'd be a little old.
3 years ago, I was 14.
3 years ago, I was 17, 15. There we go.
It's a long time ago.
I can do math, yeah.
For our ages, anyways. It's a long time ago. All right, moving on to the features. Most of the new FaceTime features, including portrait mode, spatial audio, voice.
So these are iOS 15 features, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Fortunately, okay. So these are the ones that are incapable for older phones. Okay. Most of the new FaceTime features, including portrait mode, spatial audio, voice isolation mode, and wide spectrum mode.
So you mean I can't do FaceTime portrait mode if I have an iPhone?
Well, I'm guessing the newer one. I don't know how FaceTime works.
You would think that they could add that feature to older phones. Maybe they will.
It might be there, or maybe it's a special portrait mode.
Special portrait.
It's Apple.
Yeah.
Older devices can still organize group FaceTime participants in grid view and will be able to send FaceTime links to non-Apple users, so they're keeping that stuff. And they're also supposed to support SharePlay once it arrives later this fall. Number 2, sorry.
Oh no.
Okay. Number 2, graphically intensive Apple Maps features. interactive 3D globe, and that's reasonable why an older chip would not be able to handle it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then detailed 3D maps. Live text in photos. I don't know what's that?
Well, essentially, so live text is where you can copy text from a photo. So if you like take a picture of a menu, you can copy the menu text, for example.
I thought, I'm pretty sure Google Docs did something where it can read some PDFs.
Well, Google probably can, but
it can read PDFs. So
yeah, but they're just doing straight up photos.
so you just take a photo.
Yeah,
and
you just take a photo and copy the text. It's pretty smart, actually.
What if you transfer a copy of the photo into a PDF form?
Well, then you could probably copy the
Just
text too.
format
with
it so it
Adobe
tricks
Acrobat.
Google.
You
I don't
could, but that's a lot of effort.
I guess. Just take a photo.
Yeah.
Number 4, on-device speech processing for Siri. I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's so that you don't have to send Siri information. You know, when you pull up Siri on the iPad,
Yeah.
on-device Siri, so you don't have to send Siri up to the cloud to process them back down. It just does all the processing here. Better for data, security,
Quicker, too.
and faster, yeah.
Number 5, on-device keyboard dictation naturally falls into the same category as on-device Siri in that older A-series chips aren't fast enough to handle this either. This means you'll also still be limited to 60 seconds of continuous dictation, just like in iOS 14, and then it goes on phones later than 2018. They keep on repeating that.
Yeah.
Can't handle it.
Can't handle it.
Can't handle it.
So, thank you for reading.
Yeah.
We actually had a question from a viewer here in Colorado, actually.
Get this out of the way.
The question was, can you replace your computer, whether it be a desktop or a laptop, of any make and model, like Mac or PC, with an iPad?
I think you could.
Could you daily drive an iPad as a computer?
I could. I wouldn't like it at all. But, I mean, you could do it.
For me, in my job, it would be tough. I have to deal, with a lot of network servers and transfer a lot of files and stuff. But I could. I could certainly do it. You can actually attach network storage to the iPad and work off the network.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. And I think most people would be surprised how much stuff they don't need a real computer for.
Sorry. Well, most of it comes mostly just when you need power. It's pretty much the biggest limiter.
I disagree.
Really?
The new iPad Pro has an M1 chip in it.
But that's like...
That's the same chip they have
getting
in your
the
laptop.
same prices as my laptop. It's more expensive.
Yeah, but it's got a better camera. It's got probably better... I don't know if... I wouldn't say better life, but it's got a better camera. Arguably, for most people, it's got a better operating system. iPad OS, they're probably more familiar with
So we're not
that.
talking about price ranges here.
Well, I would say
It's
that...
more expensive.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, arguably, you don't need as much power because everything is so optimized in iOS, right? So, like, what if you wanted to... You can get a surprising amount of video editing done on any of the iPads.
You could. You could also...
Even
film.
my school-issued iPad, I've edited videos on. And it's
not
fine.
good. It's not.
That's fine. I mean, I would say that if you're a person, at least, that does email, watches YouTube, maybe some TV, some streaming, basic day-to-day tasks,
I would not
go for an iPad.
stream from my iPad unless it was
Well,
a
I meant
Pro.
streaming down, like streaming
Okay.
Netflix. Yeah.
I was like, I would
That's not a regular day
stream
thing.
from my iPad. Well, it is for us.
Well, that is true, but for most people that are only checking email on their laptop, I would
if you're
say,
just like if you're writing or
yeah, even
schoolwork.
exactly.
Well, it depends what you're studying but
I would say about 80% of the people in the world, regardless of what your job is, could daily drive an iPad.
I mean, you can hook up a keyboard to it.
And it supports mouse too. So if you really are a keyboard and mouse guy, iPad's got you covered. So yes, at least my opinion is
Good.
You could definitely do it.
Most people could.
There's an app for that, So that's my opinion. And in fact, I use my iPad more than my Mac, realistically.
I do not.
Yeah. But as we said, if you buy an iPad Pro, you're getting a desktop grade chip. Effectively.
You are getting a desktop grade chip. Is it the Core 8
Yeah, it's a full. It's
GPU Core 8 as well?
yeah, it's
Full
that makes it more powerful than your MacBook
than
Air,
my MacBook Air, but it is much more expensive.
and it's
If you
Is
get
it?
the keyboard,
is it?
if you get the keyboard, it
Has
starts at
Apple's website
800.
price right now.
Starts at 800. Okay.
Does
I
it?
got mine cheaper
Hold on.
than 800.
We'll look at the Mac store.
Starts at 800. But I'm not sure if that's the 11-inch.
Well, so the MacBook Air starts at $1,000.
I ain't get mine for 1,000.
Well, okay, but we're looking at like base price here.
Okay, fine. If you go off their website, it is more expensive.
And
than
then the base model iPad Pro.
Well, hold on. Add on a keyboard. That's like $200.
Okay. But the base price iPad Pro
Is like 800
is $800. You're right. So, but if we add on,
keyboard.
well,
So
we have to
add
make it the
keyboard,
same amount of storage too, right?
which is
256. Yeah.
6, yeah.
So, and then we add
The RAM. Does it have RAM?
Oh yeah.
RAM, so it'd be 8 gigs.
Well, no, it doesn't have. It has 8
Oh.
gigs by default.
Okay.
$1,200 with the keyboard
So it is more
and
expensive.
256.
But you do get a camera and you get this touch screen. It's
Yeah.
a touch screen laptop.
Yeah, so you can like write, and if you add the Apple Pencil in for another $100 you have a full notebook too, effectively.
So I would get that instead of a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
So
So I would say the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro are on the same field,
yeah,
and I would say get an iPad Pro.
if you have the money. Well, you don't even
There's
need
not
the
even that much
keyboard.
price difference though.
I mean, it's big enough. You could probably lay it flat on the table and type.
Yeah, and that's assuming you want to buy Apple's way overpriced keyboard.
You could get a
There are plenty
off-brand.
of Logitech brands, like all,
And they work.
and they all work perfectly fine. And some of them have built-in trackpads too, from
You
like
can get
Anker and
mouse
stuff.
too from Logitech and that stuff. We're not sponsored by Logitech, but no.
No.
Yeah, but
Take a sip of my Dr. Pepper.
you can always get the non-Apple specified.
Yeah, and that would save you a bunch of money, and that would be almost the same price.
They'd probably be more around
So,
900 to 1,000 then.
If it was the same price as a MacBook Air, like,
Yeah.
MacBook Air is a laptop. It's pretty powerful. It's nice and slim.
Yeah.
One of the best laptops you can buy, really, because it's well made. It's made out of metal. And it's super light. Has great battery life. Best chip in class. iPad Pro makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It's almost the same size screen, even.
If you're buying from Apple, it's
Yeah,
it's the best price.
because you can just slap that bad boy in your backpack. You can take it off the keyboard and walk
Yeah.
around. You can take photos with it.
And you can, and it's, I already said this, but touchscreen,
Yeah, and a touchscreen.
which is really nice.
Yeah. Definitely a good option. I would definitely buy it at this point in time. Time of
Yeah.
recording. Mac,
It would-
no,
Get that instead of the
Yeah.
MacBook
an iPad.
Air, or if you're buying from Apple.
Yeah. But that brings us into our
Next
argument, per se.
that we've had going on for
Yes,
since
me and
last
Blaze.
episode,
And we'll be
right?
watching the chat, too, if you guys have an opinion. I want you guys to back me up on this one.
We won't watch it live, but
Well, no, Henry over there, our
Yeah?
tech guy, we
you
got a
could
new
let
tech
us
guy,
know.
can pull up the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat, and he'll let us know if there's any comments, actually.
Okay,
I'm hoping to get some user engagement on this one.
so let's do a rundown of the iPads.
Absolutely. So, looking at my iPad here, can you switch to my iPad? Cool, thanks. Oh boy, don't you love technical difficulties? Yeah, I know why it's not doing it.
TechPad, the technical difficulty
TechPad. We've never had a TechPad gone without a hitch before.
at some point within setup. All
Cool.
right.
Back to so Blaze over here is a huge fan of the iPad Pro.
I like that iPad, bro. It's too expensive for me, but
Actually, I'll go on the landscape. There you go. You guys should have a better picture now. The iPad Pro is a great product. I mean, we've already discussed it. It's got a great touchscreen. You could put 5G on it. You get
Yeah.
cellular. It's
pretty
got
much a 12-inch screen phone.
yeah. And that's the keyboard I'm talking about, by the way. That you can buy, the first party accessory. It's got mini LED. It's got all these great high quality screen stuff.
Yeah.
FaceTime, all the features of a regular iPad, you know.
And we'll rope in both iPad Pros
Yeah.
into my argument.
Yeah. And they actually come in two sizes, the 11 and 12 inch.
Yep.
Right? Is that right? 11 and 12 and a half inch, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's all good. Now that's Blaze's
That's mine.
top iPad choice.
Then Jackson.
But
for
I mean, like,
the
I am for the iPad Mini.
the mini over here. It's all right.
It's about as much as he has to say about
Okay,
it.
so
My main argument is that it's small.
it starts at $500. It's small. It's compact. You can hold it in one hand. It has the A15 Bionic chip, which is what the new iPhone has. I think. Does iPhone 13 have it?
Yeah, it does.
iPhone 13 has it.
15 Bionic.
Has 5G, just like iPad Pro.
So it's not as fast as the iPad Pro.
No, because it
And
has
it's a lot smaller.
It has a phone chip in it. But
Yeah, Apple's newest non-computer chip.
it's meant for a phone.
Well, and an iPad.
Phone.
Well, it's in the iPad Air too.
No, this goes into my argument.
Was it-
Okay,
was it-
it's the screen size is 8.3 inch,
Yeah,
which is decent.
it's adequate.
It's
I am a
adequate.
fan of small devices. The
Mm.
MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, they're nice and slim. I'm like Apple's target audience for their laptops, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to sacrifice a minute of render time for thermal throttling if it gets me smaller. So, I like small devices, and I don't like hauling around this massive iPad.
This is not massive.
It is it's heavy, it's massive. The iPad Mini I can fit in my pocket.
You could fit this in your pocket.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but I could fit the iPad Mini
Seen it
better.
happen.
It supports Apple Pencil Generation 2,
So it's
so I can take notes on it. And it's fully featured, has all the features of the iPad except for a little bit less camera and a little bit less processing power.
what is the camera?
Oh, it's got the same camera as the iPad Pro for the face camera, but the rear camera is the same as the regular
Okay.
iPad.
Here it is. It's the. Or else they gave me better stuff. It's the 12 megapixel wide camera. Digital zoom up to 5 times. That stuff pretty
It's
much.
fine, and I would rather carry that around with me with maybe a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse, or maybe even not.
It has.
Apple Pencil Gen 2, whip it out of my pocket, take some notes, put it back in. It's the perfect device for me and my job.
4K recording at 24. I don't think it's actual 4K, but
We'll go with it.
I doubt the camera could support that. I don't know.
So why are you a fan of the iPad Pro then?
Okay. All right.
We'll get into the argument here.
If you get an iPad, all right, you're taking notes. Usually iPads for taking notes, and
It's a school device.
it's like a notebook but digital, right?
You could say that, amongst other things, yeah.
So what's the average size of a notebook? That's my question here.
I have no idea.
It's about like similar to my
Yeah,
like a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro.
It's
here.
probably about this big.
It's about
right?
a little
probably smaller.
wider too.
Probably smaller and wider.
Yeah,
I'm with
it's
you.
about that size, right?
Yeah.
So with the iPad Mini,
Yeah.
see, it's small, right? You have to scroll through your notes, multiple notes, right?
Okay.
It's like if you have a pocketbook as your notebook, in a way. So why wouldn't you just want a slate, a wide screen
Slate.
to write all of your thoughts, all of your notes in one go without having to scroll up and down to check your notes constantly?
I know so many people. Now, in fairness, they are all like older people.
Yeah,
They'd carry around like in their pocket here or in their pocket just a small notebook.
but they're not.
Wham, write down an address, write down, the contact information.
All
Flip
right.
it closed, put it in your pocket.
Talking to all the students here. You take notes every day, right? You take pages of notes in math and physics and history, psychology, as in
I do take
Jackson over
notes.
here.
I do take notes in
A
psychology.
lot of
I
notes
do.
in psychology.
Yeah.
So that small pocketbook doesn't work. You wouldn't use that to take your notes.
But on the other hand, it's a lot smaller than a notebook. right? I don't have to carry around 4 notebooks every day for 4 of my classes.
I carry around all my notebooks.
Well, yeah, but that's you. I speak for lightness, right? I don't have to carry around 4 notebooks. And typically when I'm taking notes, I'm not writing more than the iPad mini's screen size of notes at any particular time.
That's your personal experience.
So I just write it down, scroll up, it's fine. And it's small.
Yes.
It's more powerful than the
easy
regular
to
iPad.
carry around, yes.
I could video edit on it.
You can video edit on the iPad Pro much better.
That's true, but
You get this huge screen to watch your video on. iPad mini is like a phone.
it's bigger than a phone. Dude, that's the beauty of it.
It's pretty much a phone.
There's no annoying notch.
It's pretty
That's
much
my biggest
a phone.
gripe with the iPhone is the notch.
It's a phone.
So
It has
think
5G.
that if we were comparing
Okay.
this standard iPad generation 7 or 8, I forget which one it is, that the school issues, would you rather take this or the iPad mini?
I'll take mini.
Exactly.
Anyone would take the mini. But would you take this or the iPad Pro?
Well, I would take the iPad Pro.
Exactly.
So we can at least both
no.
agree that this is just
Trash.
not the optimal solution.
The keyboard's trash too.
Well, that's not Apple though. That's Logitech.
care.
That's SVVSD.
I don't care.
but-
It's still trash. I'm still going
It's
to
true.
complain
This
about
is true.
it.
But then that brings us to polar opposite ends of the spectrum. Would you take an iPad Air?
Over what?
Over,
Just in general,
over
or-
this or over the yeah, just in general. If you couldn't get the iPad Pro, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted something smaller, would you rather have the iPad Air or the iPad Mini? See,
What are the specs on the iPad Air?
that's an excellent question. Scroll all the way up here. iPad Air.
I don't like the iPad Air because it's the
Specs.
in between. It just seems very obsolete if you just go for the Pro or the Mini.
No.
No.
So it's got the A14 Bionic. So it's even less powerful than the iPad Mini.
I'd probably go for the Mini.
So I have a theory.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I have a complaint. I don't know. So Henry, if you switch to my iPad, you can see that here there are 4 different kinds
iPads
of
that they
iPad.
sell.
Oh,
That's
you see, this is why
it's wonderful.
this is.
Well, they have 4
To
different
be honest,
iPads.
this is the smoothest broadcast we've had in a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it back, Henry? Should
Okay,
be
we
back
can
now.
describe. We can describe.
Okay,
them.
we'll describe it.
There it is.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
See, I got the magic touch. So there's 4
Different-
iPads,
Yeah.
different iPads. Why are there 4 different iPads?
I would
That's
say
a
there needs
question
to be
I've
two.
been wondering in my head for a very long time.
So they have budget. They have a little bit more. They have a mini, which could be arguably used as a budget iPad, but better than the budget one that they
Yeah.
offer.
But I feel like they have the low end and the high end.
And
right?
they have things in between.
Yeah, they have the high end, which is the iPad Pro, and the low end, which is the iPad.
I think
One of these must go, I think.
they
That's my
take out
opinion.
the middle 2. Since there's 4, and on here is the middle 2. I think they should take those out. I find those obsolete.
Henry, are we back on these cameras? Cool, thank you. Cool.
I find those obsolete because just go for iPad Pro or iPad Mini.
So
Why would you want in between?
I actually have a different theory. I think that the iPad, just regular iPad,
yeah.
the one that looks like this, is the best option for schools. It's cheap. It's like $300, right?
For budget, it's $330 for the very basic one.
I don't have an issue with 3 iPads. I have an issue with 4 because the lines blur between the iPad Pro and the iPad Air, or the iPad and the iPad Air.
Yeah.
So I feel like the iPad Air doesn't serve a real purpose. It's less powerful than all but the iPad, right? And all it has is really a better screen and Apple Pencil 2 compatibility.
Or should you take out the iPad and then move the iPad Air down to the same price as the iPad? We all know they would make money.
That would be a good option too.
Because then you take out the old iPad with its old stuff. The design itself is pretty old.
Yeah.
And just make the iPad Air the regular iPad. So then you have iPad mini, iPad Air, then iPad Pro.
Yeah.
So the 3 options.
I'm a fan. Speaking of which, schools. Why do schools only use, why do you think that the schools like SVVSD only use the iPad? Why don't they use something? Why don't they use the Android devices, for example?
Why don't they use Android?
Yeah, or why
I
is
guess
that the primary
partnership.
choice?
I guess partnership, maybe.
I know SVVSD likes Apple because
Well,
that's all they
every
have
single device is Apple.
in school. Yeah,
I don't even use the iPad personally because I
yeah, but you bought a MacBook Air.
did.
I'd say 80% of the kids in SVVSD don't have a laptop.
I think
they can just
iOS,
carry around.
not the iOS, the UI might be. It's a lot cleaner and more simple than Windows.
I think it's because it's so cheap.
Apple.
This iPad, it's cheap, but yet it retains the features,
It still
know?
is. It's decent when it comes to.
and it's built different.
I've
than
seen
the,
so many kids with cracked screens. But I'm guessing
well,
you can't defend against freshmen.
yeah, freshmen probably they'll destroy anything they get their hands on.
If
But
you throw your iPad, it's gonna break.
throw it across the room like it's a frisbee, And then I just think
The price.
the price. So that's why I was hesitant when you said take out the cheap iPad, the regular standard iPad.
Well, then you'd bring iPad Air down to that price or somewhere closer to it.
But I don't know if Apple's margins aren't that big because the iPad Air
How much is it?
starts at $600,
That's stupid.
and the iPad
They could probably bring it down to 500.
starts,
iPad Mini's 500, which that's.
and the iPad starts at $330.
I'm pretty sure they could bring the Air down more. Maybe not to 330, but I'm pretty sure they could bring it down.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's tough.
Take one of them out, and
Viewers,
Jackson likes Mini. I like
what do you
Pro.
think?
I like Pro.
I like the Mini.
It's a lot of it's what we do on a daily basis.
That is true, but I'm still a fan of the Mini.
I like having.
Now, on the other hand, if I were looking for a MacBook Pro replacement, the iPad Pro is where I'd be.
Yeah.
But like a sidecar companion, right?
I like having a
I'd be
lot of space for me to take notes and write on. You don't care as much, so you
Yeah,
could
I
do the
would-
Mini.
I would rather be able to just whip it out from my pocket and take notes and put it back in rather than open up the backpack, take out the iPad Pro, take it off the keyboard, write notes,
You do have a Flex.
and then,
I wouldn't even have a knife. I wouldn't even have a keyboard for it.
oh, you'd go keyboardless.
Well, because I have a MacBook Air.
That's true.
But then that raises into question. Might as well trade in Air and then get keyboard for my iPad Pro.
So that brings us to almost out of time, actually.
Unfortunately.
We got like 30 seconds to wrap up here before the next program on Channel 8. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching TechPad with me and Blaze. This has been a discussion on iPads and such. And I would like to say join us for the next TechPad, which will be Tuesday. This is Tuesday at 6 p.m. Same day, same place here at LPM. And hopefully we'll have another topic for you guys. If you got any questions for us, make sure to send them on over to jackson.stats at longmontpublicmedia.org.
Comments on the discussion.
Comment on the iPad discussion. And I'll see you guys later on the next episode of TechPad. Thanks for watching.